You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in the space every week. Really excited about today's guest. We met at the Midwest Vet Show. Ivan, why don't you go ahead and introduce today's guest and get us started?
Hi, I'm amzn, and I'm happy to introduce Karla Engel today. Karla is a senior partner at Pawse, which is a reducing canine anxiety device. We're going to talk about that. Karla holds a bachelor degree in psychology from Nebraska Wesleyan University, and she just became the proud parent of a mini golden doodle. Thank you for joining us, Karla. And why don't you tell us, how did you get into the veterinary space?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be joining you today, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Pawse. Our really evolution and arrival in the veterinary space kind of came about because we had started with our product in the retail market, and through conversations with various consultants, we stumbled upon the use in the veterinary clinic. So our product slows the dog down, it's geared towards dogs. It can be used for other animals too. But right now we're focused on dogs. And the way it's designed, it's a pre-filled cup of all natural peanut butter, and there is a screen that lays on top. The dog has to lick through the screen in order to get to the peanut butter fill. So that screen, because it's coming up through some holes in that screen, slows them down. And we found that they're very focused on it. It's a great task for them. And we found a great market in the veterinary industry for use on the exam table or in the exam room, because dogs are so focused on getting to that peanut butter. And it's easy to use.
It's so cool, Karla. When we met at the Midwest Vet Show, I always walk up and down the aisles at the vet shows looking for either innovative software companies or product companies or just somebody that's doing something different. And I remember stumbling upon your device and your product and think, geez, that's really interesting. And I think there might have been a dog kind of that was licking it, and it just was so focused on it. I was thinking, that's a really interesting application for innovation. And I'm curious on how you even came up with the idea. Like, how do you do that? How do you get an idea like this off the ground?
Yeah, well, it's been a big process, but honestly, I had a border collie. She's no longer with us, but I had a border collie, and we traveled around a lot. We did agility competition, we did dog diving, and so she was my constant companion. And I really needed something while I was in the car with her to kind of keep her attention and, give her something to do. And I wanted something that wouldn't make a big mess. And I worked on it for a while on this sort of concept of what to do, because I knew I could bring a treat cup with me, but I didn't have anything that just wouldn't create a mess in my car that would be simple to give her. And so I actually ended up with this sort of paper cup and a lid, and I punched holes in it. And then I put some peanut butter in the cup, and I stuck that paper lid on top, and she licked right through it. And I knew then that was the answer. So from there, it just became a matter of exploring whether it could be patented, finding a patent attorney, and it just step by step, little by little, brought me to this place.
Awesome. Well, I can just see Shawn going down the aisle and then focusing on the peanut butter smell and licking the cup. So
Yeah.
That's, I can see him doing
It
that.
works for people too, if you are so inclined.
Yeah, that's how his wife now distracts him. He just puts one of those.
Right.
So it's interesting. A lot of innovation that we talk to, and the founders of innovation, they're in the tech sector, and this is sort of it's a device. So were you familiar with the process of building something? Because a lot of people go, okay, I'm going to build this. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to make a design. We're going to submit it for patent. And then we're going to make it. Where are we going to produce it? Are we going to make it in China? Are we going to make it locally? So what does that process look like? And did you have to figure it all out, or you had already some knowledge in that area?
I really didn't have any knowledge in that area. I didn't know anything about getting a patent. And I started by just simply drawing out my idea and contacting a local patent attorney, and he ran his check to make sure that there were no conflicts, and it just evolved from there. It took a few years to get the design working. So even though we had filed for patent protection, and I was able to find a local investor who was interested in it, Richard Sailors, who at the time owned a dog daycare and boarding facility and had some also real estate experience, wanted a partner. So that was really beneficial. So with his heavy lifting, so to speak, he was able to bring on investors. And so it sort of went from there. I worked on obtaining the patent and working with our patent attorney to get that accomplished while he set up the financing and investors. And then from there, we worked on our design.
And what did you do before this? This is like such an interesting, conversation. What were you doing before you decided to, become an inventor?
Well, actually, I've been in real estate for years, almost 30 years, managing shopping centers. So I wasn't doing anything related to this to start. And in fact, I'm still in the shopping center business. So this is something that I'm also pursuing.
Wow. I just drew an analogy. I just remembered that on Facebook, some of my tech friends, I have a lot of veterinarians and technician friends. I don't know if you guys seen all the crazy stuff that people do sitting at home during the COVID, but I've seen a couple of the technicians wrapping the saran wrap on their head and putting peanut butter and then trimming the nails. So I think that have you guys seen that? It's crazy. I think it's as a joke.
So Lindsay Shelton, I saw that showed up on my Facebook feed, and Lindsay Shelton is the woman who, there's been a lot of people who have done it, but I saw hers. And I actually sent her some Pet Pawse product. I reached out to her on Facebook and I'm like, hey, there's no need to put saran wrap on your forehead. I've got this product. I'll send you some. You can try it. So she just received it a couple days ago. So
that's perfect. That could be your infomercial where in black and white you show all these technicians wrapping peanut butter on their forehead, right. And then after that you come up with a pet.
Yeah. So awesome. One of the things that we found when we went to the Midwest Veterinary Show and in talking to a lot of techs is that they spend a lot of time cleaning up that peanut butter off of a table or a wall or something like that. Our cup is disposable. It's single use. Once it's done, it's done. And it's easy.
So you mentioned that this could be applicable to other animals. Are you planning on cats, and there will be some other substance in it, like catnip or something? What is the plan, or is it a secret? It could be a secret.
Well, our business plan really, right now, we're focused on dogs because we know that it works with dogs. We've had a lot of requests for cats, and so. That's definitely something that we'll be looking at. And we also really have a plan to move forward with other fills besides peanut butter. So eventually we'll develop other fills in that cup that will have nutraceuticals or other flavors. And so we'll be expanding our product offerings. But we knew that peanut butter really was probably almost universally liked by dogs and was something we could produce. And we make our peanut butter here in the United States with Hampton Farms. So it's all natural, sourced in the US. It's literally just emulsified peanuts and a little bit of vegetable oil. So there's nothing else in it.
It's so cool. Karla, do you want to do something fun? We've never done this before, and this is not premeditated.
Well, I'm totally out. I am totally down for something.
Okay, what I'm thinking we should do is give a couple of your products away to people that interact with us or mention that they've heard this in the post. We'll give you a list of, I don't know, maybe 5 veterinarians that would like to try your product, that all they got to do is mention it on our LinkedIn post or our Facebook post, and then we'll send you the names and you can give a couple of our listeners some of your products. You up for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. We'll send a vet sample kit out and it'll contain 8 of our treat cups and a base. We have a stable base that can be reused. And so that sits on the table or on the floor and you put the cup in there. So all the instructions will be on there. But yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Let's make it a little more challenging. If they do get it, then they have to record a little live video on them using it in the hospital, trimming nails or whatever with their technician doing. I think that would be even better.
Yeah, that'd be great. It works great for trimming nails.
And maybe we can make it even more complicated since we're doing this on the fly. So in order to win the prize, you've got to share our post, and the person that has the most shares will give them the prize. So all you got to do is mention that you heard this in our episode, share the post, get your friends to share it, and we'll send you some of Karla's really interesting product. So Karla, thanks for playing along. Sorry, no pressure.
No, none. Absolutely. It's great.
So maybe let me take another turn on this. So I remember how he was coming out with the first trade show when we launched my previous product, SmartFlow. So it was a big effort. We didn't have investors. It was all out of pocket cash with a newborn baby at home and the wife that just came out from another country, and I had to fund several people go to it. So how do you pick? Because you kind of being very selective and you're thinking what trade shows to go to, how to assemble your booth, or do you have a marketing person, or did you guys have to do it yourself and kind of, just learn about it all? What was the process like?
We did it ourselves. It's really just my husband, Doug, and I, and Richard Sailors, who are actively and day-to-day managing Pawse and its growth and development. And so I felt back last December that I really wanted us to go to a trade show to get out in front of people, especially veterinarians. And I looked at several shows, and we settled on the Midwest Veterinary Conference just because of the size, and the expense was not as big. It wasn't like going to Florida to the big one down there. And I felt like we would be able to get good exposure without being overwhelmed with other big national companies also there and having some sort of huge forum that we couldn't really manage. And the conference was wonderful for us. We had a great time. It was really great learning experience. We made lots of connections, Shawn being one of them, but even Michelle Mullins and some folks from Karen Pryor. And Michelle's with the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. So we've made some really great contacts in industries, even beyond the veterinary industry. It's been really useful.
So, Karla, what are the veterinarians that have picked up your product saying about it? What's the initial customer feedback like? What are you hearing?
We're getting really great feedback. So, a lot of vets are like, I can use this multiple times a day. A lot of them can think of multiple dogs that they could use it with, especially if they're particularly antsy. But there are some vets out there that are still like, I'll just hold the dog. We're not like any other product. When we're out talking to vets, we have some that say, I think I'm okay just holding the dog down. But we know that that's not really the direction that the industry is going. That's not really the direction that people are going in the way that they interact with their animals. They want their animals to have a great experience at the vet too. And we can provide this, and it's a great tool. It's easy to use. So the overwhelming response has been very positive, and the vets really do find it useful.
And then the next obvious question is, what's been the hardest thing so far?
I think every stage I'm like, this is the hardest thing ever, and then we get through that stage and I'm like, this is the hardest thing ever. So on some level, none of it's been really hard when I look back on it. But when it's in front of you and you've never experienced it before, it's just like going through the patent and then getting investors and then getting the product manufactured and packaged and distributed, and now the website and all those things. Every single step is a learning process for us, but it's been great. It's fantastic, and we have so much support, and we love talking to vets and to technicians about it, to groomers, because everyone is so excited about it.
That's great. Yeah, it's with there's an author of the book Crossing the Chasm. He talks about innovation and how innovation goes through different cycles. And one of the things he's talking about, that for the entrepreneur that is building their company, it feels like riding a bicycle up the hill. It's every single extra foot is harder and harder, and it's never easier. It's always harder than the previous one. So so I compliment you on sort of doing this entrepreneurial journey. And I want to ask you two questions we ask all the participants here. One of them is, there's something that you learned, listened to, watched, or read recently that you would recommend to our listeners?
So, of course, I really always like reading about psychology and social psychology as well. And one of the books that I've read recently, and it's not necessarily a new book, it's been out for a while, it's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And he really talks about how family and culture and your connections really shape and influence your life and your success and how things evolve. And so I found it really useful just from the ability to reflect on how I've gotten to where I'm at today from where I started, and how growing up or going to school at Wesleyan or getting a degree in psychology, how all of those things have contributed to where I am today and where we are today with Pawse. So that book in particular, I found really interesting.
Yeah, that's a favorite of mine. I love that book. Last question. Who is another innovator that you know that's in the space that you think we should invite to the podcast?
So, who's been popping up lately on my feeds is Zazie Todd. And she's a psychologist and a trainer. And she has a blog called Companion Animal Psychology. And she just published a book called WAG, The Science of Making Your Dog Happy. I haven't read it yet. That's next on my list. But she seems really interesting, and I love reading her blogs, and especially because we have a new puppy. There's a lot that I have to learn about puppies. So Ava, was a border collie, and I had her for a long time. She was with us for 13 years, and we lost her about 3 years ago. And so we just got a new puppy, and I feel like I'm starting all over. And our puppy is a golden doodle, and she's completely different from Ava, from our border collie that we had. So it's kind of almost a brand new learning process.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinarynnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.